Uh, so let's talk about this car right here. Um, 2017 Shelby GT350, gray. It's got the black decal, racing stripes, all that. Uh, I think anyone who's watching this video knows about that. I mean, that's the reason you get this car. I mean, it's a beast. I mean, this car. I mean, it's a beast. And my little R2, yeah, he's a beast too. But yeah. So kind of what I want to talk about in this video here is some of the things that I've been going on with this car. I just got it. I've had it like a week and a half. I got it from a dealer, kind of an hour away from me, a Ford dealer. Now this car is actually a dealer buyback. So if anyone doesn't know really what that means, basically the first owner who owned this thing didn't like it. Had issues with it. It didn't do what he wanted to do, or it did too much for what he or she rather wanted out of the thing. So anyway, I was kind of searching online, found this thing. I'm like, okay, that's about some $1,000 cheaper than kind of what I've been seeing these things go for. So, all right, let me just jump into this thing and and kind of just see what happens. I'm not rich by any means, but I mean, I work my ass off, and hey, anyone who works knows they want to have something fun to fuck around with. I mean, that's my other car there, little Impala. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that car, but back on track to this. Anyway, I mean, before I even kind of thought about buying it, I did look over the kind of the work history that the woman sent me on it. And I just was like, man, what did this guy or girl do who owned this car before me? Because it was just numerous things like, I don't know, one of them was pouring oil. I was like, oh man, you hear that, you're like, oh crap. And granted, I mean, I've kind of researched this car, and I mean, I never seen anything about any problems with this engine. I mean, if anything, this is what this car is built around, is this engine right here. So anyway, I was like, well, okay, maybe the guy just didn't break it in, just right out of the gate, just was maxing it out, 8,000 RPMs or something, and messed it up. Whatever. A couple other things. It had a thermostat problem a few times, to where I guess it was stuck open, to where the thing wasn't cooling right. Anyway, I'm like, okay, I'll take my chance on it. I was like, but anyway, there was a couple other things. I think it was another thermostat issue. There was a couple thermostat things I had going on with it. I'm really not sure. Oh, going back to the engine thing, they replaced the engine, totally replaced it. Didn't even, they were doing compression checks on it, and I guess one thing I had to actually look at the thing again, but I was like, okay, well, it's got a new engine anyway, so there shouldn't be no issues with that. But stemming from the engine replacement, I guess that's what happened with the thermostat. There was some kind of debris coming from the engine that led to the thermostat, which led to a second engine replacement. I know, talking about this, I'm like, what else do you need to know, man? Stay away from this car. But you know what? I was like, okay, screw it. I'm gonna, if I get down there and I check it out, because anyone who knows about looking online, I mean, these dealerships all the time that have these cars aren't right next to you, so it's not like I could just cruise down and kind of take it for a spin. But anyway, I mean, when I did get down there, took it for a drive. Everything's boom, right on point. I mean, if you ever drive one of these cars, I mean, you'll fall in love with just how amazing the car drives and sounds. I mean, there's no mistaking the sound of a V8 Ford. I mean, and this one in particular, I mean, here, I can start it up here for a minute and kind of show you what I'm dealing with a little bit. Watch, I'll probably start it up and this thing won't fucking do it, but alright, so start her up. Door ajar, yeah, get it. Door's open. I don't need a light telling me the door's open, but apparently they think we do. And that's what I'm running into right now. Actually, when I left the dealership, let me shut the door. When I left the dealership, there was no lights. I mean, engine lights. Obviously, there's damn lights on the car, but I live about an hour away from where the dealership is. So I get on the road, and I'm like, oh man, this thing is awesome, And then about, let's say, 20 miles into the trip, all four tire sensors trip, rating about like 23 pounds, give or take, on each one. I'm like, motherfucker. Also, here, let me note this real quick. If you get a car from the dealership, they're not going to fill the shit up to full. They filled it to half a tank. I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine. You would think you buy a car from a dealership for a ton of money, they would at least give you a full tank, but they don't, or at least they didn't. So anyway, the tire lights tripped. I'm like, fine, that's whatever. You'd think the dealership would have checked that, but anyway, they didn't. And then about 10 miles after that went off, and I'm like, oh fuck. Especially with the work history that I knew was going, like the stuff going on with this car prior, which the person who I was dealing with assured me, oh, there's no mechanically, there's nothing mechanically wrong with this car. I'm like, all right, I'm not a mechanic by trade. I'm not, but I'm versed in some things. I mean, I could see if there's something wrong. I mean, obviously, when I was driving it, there was nothing going on with it. The engine was running smooth. And I mean, I checked all the gauges, like the oil pressure. Right now, the oil temp is cold. I mean, I just started up. I haven't driven it since yesterday when I saw this light come on again. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So the light went off, and I'm like, oh man. But when I was driving on the highway, oil temp was good, oil pressure was good. It wasn't overheating or anything. So I was like, all right, maybe I had just put gas in it too, because, okay, another weird thing, kind of backtracking a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth here, but literally, because they gave it to me half a tank, right? It got to about, I want to try and get this to a little bit, like in between quarter and half, and the fuel thing went off. Low fuel sensor. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So basically, I don't know if this is the case. I haven't seen anybody talk about this. I haven't watched every single video on this car. I mean, I've watched a lot, but it was right in between half and a quarter gauge, and I mean, I know it's got like a 16-gallon tank, but Jesus, I mean, that's a little crazy for the sensor to be going off that early. I was like, oh man, what the fuck? But anyway, so I was like, man, all these all these fucking lights are going off like crazy. So all the 4 sensor lights go off. The first, the gas thing went off. So it was the tires, then the gas light. Then I'm like, all right, let me just whatever, pull over, put some air in the tires. I don't want to be on the highway with, you know, the tires being so low. Let me shut this off. I don't like running it with this light on. But anyway, yeah, you can see where the dealership, you got they try and do like a half-ass fucking detail job, and I mean, I'm pretty particular with my detail jobs, and I'm kind of ashamed to actually have that on camera right now, that it's all disgusting still from whatever they put on there, you know. But anyway, let me get out of the car. So all the tire things tripped. Gas light went off. I pulled over, put air in the tires, no big deal. Put gas in the car, and it's got this, you know, whatever it is. I don't know. It's like some kind of, you ain't gotta fuck with a gas cap. I don't even know if you call that a cap anymore or whatever the hell this shit is. So I just put gas in it, and I'm like, whatever, cool, get back on the road. And then that's when that engine light went off. I'm like, shit. So I was like kind of thinking about it. I'm like, well, I did just put gas in it. Did I put gas in it wrong? I mean, I know to only put premium in this car. I mean, this car cannot take anything less than, to me, 93. But I mean, you can't always find that everywhere, but I can. It's that or 91. So anything below that, you're just going to mess up the engine. So I don't know. So like you could have some nitwit at the dealership just throwing any piece of shit gas in the car and fucking up the engine. So yeah, I don't know, man. Then I get home. I'm like kind of already regretting this. Not regretting it because I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, with that engine light, the car still ran fine. You know, the engine ran smooth. I mean, you could tell it wasn't missing any cylinder firing. But anyway, I get it home. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, cool, it's home. Let me just sit on it at night and see what happens. After that, it kind of rained almost every day. Since, what have I had, a week and a half? It rained almost 3 days straight. Then I was able to take it to work. I work like, I don't know, 3 miles down the road, so it's not like I'm driving it far, but I'm trying to think of the time frame here, but I want to say the engine light went off maybe a day later. Bear with me, I'm trying to kind of think of the time frame, but anyway, the engine light went off. I'm like, cool, engine light went off. Then, one of the other days, I finally was able to take it out, so I hear this, with the clutch disengaged, I was hearing this whining. I was like, oh my God, what the hell now? You know what I'm saying? Now I'm hearing some kind of noise out of the clutch or the transmission. I'm like, okay. From what I kind of found looking just briefly, like it with the clutch I keep saying dish. Disengaged. Talk, you fucking moron. Alright. Disengaged, it was whining. Like, so from what I seen they were saying like it's probably a bearing. Throw out bearing maybe. So I'm like, okay, great. Just throw another thing onto the pile here. Granted, let me go back to like when you buy a car from the dealership. This was actually, like I was saying about, I'm not the first owner. This is a dealer buyback. They give you a 12/12 warranty, which is 12 months, 12,000 miles, whichever comes first. That's what they give you. They protect you against all the crap that can go down. Because I wasn't really worried about if something was wrong, it would be covered. It's not like it would just come straight out of my pocket. But at the same time, it's like you just get a car. Granted, it's used. It's not, rolling right off the showroom floor or anything brand new. I mean, you don't want to roll out with a piece of junk like it's. You don't expect it to fucking be starting flashing lights, sounds in the transmission. So especially with something this high performance, let me go open that door. I mean, anyone who knows anything about this car, I mean, this is Ford's top of the line here. You know what I mean? But anyway, I was like, fuck. I'm hearing this whining in the clutch or wherever it was, transmission somewhere. This shit's taking a long time. I didn't think this would be that long to explain. I don't do videos or anything, so that's why I'm probably like backtracking. So, sorry about that, but anyway, the sound went away. The sound in the clutch went away. I don't know how or why, but it's gone. And then the light went away. Granted, I was like in contact with the place I got it from. I'm like, listen, man, I just left. All this stuff is happening, and the person's like, no way, I can't believe it. Like they give a fuck. They got my money. That's what they give a fuck about. And there's some other things like I was stupid, like for taking it because there was things I told the person about. I'm like, I want this, like certain things kind of, on point when I get there. Like, because I saw in the photos this filter. I'm like, man, that filter looks pretty raggedy. I'm like, I want the filter new. I want the battery. If anyone doesn't know, the battery is on that little thing. I want the battery to be good, and I want the tires to be good. I'm like, yeah, make sure those things are good when I get there, because I don't want to have to. Those are things you're gonna have to dish out straight out of your pocket, and I mean, especially this. I mean, come on. So I'm gonna say this is my own stupidity for leaving with the car, knowing. I was like, first thing I did, I was like, looked at that filter, and I'm like, man, I literally pulled chunks out of it. It's still the same filter, so yeah, it's dirty as fuck. So I mean, that could be causing some of this problem too, if it's not breathing right. This engine, I mean. So anyway, I mean, kind of the point of this video is, I mean, I guess me kind of vent my little frustrations about what's going on with my situation, but don't get me wrong, this car is everything and more that anyone will say about it. I mean, it's, for the brief time I've had it, you just want to drive. I mean, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to go home. There is nothing at home. I mean, unless I don't know, it could be at your house. It's funner than fucking with this car driving around. I mean, it's awesome, but do be real careful, like with anything. I mean, I never had a buyback car from a dealership before. This is my first time kind of dealing with it, but kind of really make sure you know what you're getting into, because I'm pretty sure, like I'm bringing this car tomorrow to a dealership, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna see like trying to get rid of it, because as much as I love this thing when it's right, I mean, like I said, I mean, they give you this 12/12 warranty. Dude, I got a car payment on this thing for a hell of a lot longer than 12 months. So if anything happens to this drivetrain after the 12 months, that shit's on me. So, just, I don't know, man. And another thing that I was worried about when I saw it, I saw this scoring on the rotors. And I'm like, oh man. I even told the guy, I'm like, you can see through the rim into the pads. you know, and I was like, man, that doesn't look right. And, you know, of course, uh, the guy who I'm driving the shit with, he's like, oh, no, this car been sitting. You know, that's what's the matter with that. You know, I get it. A car sitting it'll develop rust spots. You know, if it's water's getting on it and it's just sitting there. But that's not that. That's uneven scoring, in my opinion. I'm not a trained mechanic here, but I mean, I can see it. So, so I'm sure anyone watching this is like, man, dude, what the hell did you take this thing for? Hey, man, I mean, sometimes you do stupid ass things in your life, but you know, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, this thing, I didn't even really drive it to the way it's capable of. This thing, you can't legally drive it on the street to what it can do. I mean, that's how awesome the car is when it's good. I mean, uh, but you know, I don't know what really is. I mean, if it's just that's what I thought. I was like, man, I'll get this car. I'll treat it right. Just assuming that the first owner was just didn't really know how to treat a car, and he just, oh, let me get in this thing. This thing is awesome, and just beat the shit out of it. Just ran it into the fucking ground. This thing only has just over 10,000 miles, so it's not like it's, you know. So, but anyway, and then let me get back to this light. Then yesterday, I was leaving work. Oh, I started it up. I'm like, you know, started it up, no problem. It's fine. And then that light was on, that engine light. I'm like, fuck me, you know. So I don't know really what's going on with it, and that's kind of where I'm at. This was yesterday, and this time, like, I left, like, I pulled out, um, and it was running not good. Like, it almost sounded like it was on 7 cylinders.